In 1993, I had one of my finest athletes that I ever worked with, named John Piland. And he came to work for me as an assistant coach. Now, when I first met John, I was a little, shall we say, less than impressed. Okay, here he was, coming off his motorcycle, long blonde hair streaming out of his motorcycle helmet, shabby clothes, and he's coming to work as my assistant coach. And, you know, I just to kind of meet him, okay, he's not very well dressed. This is a private club, very nice place, and he's not really that well dressed, shall we say. And he just got done cleaning swimming pool, so he had all kinds of gunk on his arms and everything else and all over his pants. So I got to talking to John, and it turned out that 3 years earlier, at the age of 18, he had been on the #1 medley relay team in the entire United States. He was the breaststroker out of Arden Hills, #1 record-setting relay team. He had a full ride scholarship to University of Southern California, USC. But his coaches told him he wouldn't cut it because he never made it to senior nationals. And so he hung the Speedo up to dry. He was burnt out. He was done. It was over. Turned down the scholarship. That was it. He walked away from the sport. Here it was 3 years later. He's 21 years old. And he's just no ambition, no drive, not in school. All he's doing is cleaning swimming pools and teaching lessons to little kids. That was his life. So I said, John, I need to watch you swim. Because I took one look at him and I could see this is the guy who had the body of a god, and he was an incredible physical specimen. And I said, I need to watch you swim. So he, after listening to this, I watched him swim. Now, have you ever had the experience where you see somebody who has incredible potential and you can notice it, and it's like that? It's like immediate. It's just like it hits you. And it did. It hit me in about 30 seconds. That's all it took. I watched him swim 2 laps. And I said, oh, my God. And I said, thank you, God. Because, you know, every coach wants one of those with the talent. You want one with the talent. You know, every once in a while, it's nice to have talent. It really is. And I watched him, and I said, you're not done yet. You're only 21 years old. You've got the body of a God. You've got all this power, all this strength. And you can do it. Whatever it is you want to do, you can do it. Somewhere along the line, you lost your dream. What was your dream? So what he shared with me is that when he quit swimming, he was really sad because he really had the dream that he could go to senior nationals. And his ultimate dream was to reach the Olympic trials. Because he knew he had it in him. He knew he had the capacity to get to that level inside of him. But he felt cheated out by his coaches, that they weren't really supportive of him. So he hung it up, and that was it. So I said, John, you can do it. I believe you can. But it's going to take 3 things. So 1, you're going to need to redo your stroke technique completely. Completely overhaul it. And just so happens I can do that with you. I can teach you. Second, you're going to need to physically work harder than you've ever worked in your life. And third, and most challenging, is that you're going to need to be willing to be completely coachable. And this will be the toughest battle. So he agreed. And so we got ready to start working together at 5:30 in the morning every single morning that summer. Started going to the pool. 5:30 in the morning, I got in the water with him. But you see, John had 3 years experience of being not coachable. So he was selectively coachable at best. So there were some mornings I was there and he wasn't. Now here's the thing about being a coach. Being a coach means that you have the willingness to actually be more committed to them than they are to themselves. You have to be willing to stand in being more committed to them and their goals than they are to themselves, because they're only going to be selectively coachable at times. And there are times when I called John up at 5:30 in the morning, I said, John, where are you? I'm here and you're not. Get your butt down here. And I held him to account. I held him accountable because I knew that he was going to be selectively coachable. I knew he's going to do that. That's natural. That's part of the process, and you can expect that. And as a business coach, you have to be aware you're going to have to deal with that. And you have to be prepared for that. And it's nothing wrong. It's just part of the process.
You ever see someone make a quantum leap from not to reluctant to complete?
Nope, doesn't happen.
Never? Really?
Doesn't really happen. No, they may have had experience at some point in the past, but no, to get to this, to really get there, is a completely different level.
That's not an easy thing.
No, it's not an easy thing. No, I'll tell you that having, yeah,
That's the biggest thing.
it's the most challenging. Exactly. Yeah, it is the most challenging thing to become completely coachable. And I'll tell you why as we go along with this. So it took about probably a little over a year. So I would say by the end of '94, John stepped into being reluctantly coachable. At that point, he was making every single practice. He was being very dedicated. He was eating what he needed to do. He was doing everything he needed to do. And he started to develop the habits of doing everything on a consistent basis. And he started to do very, very well. But he still had that little voice of doubt. Can I really do this? Will this really work? Does Ruben really know what he's talking about? You know, will this training work? Because he was used to a whole different way of training, and his old way was completely being turned upside down. It was a completely different approach. So he wasn't used to it. He wasn't comfortable with it. So he was reluctantly coachable at best. So it took a while. And he was at that level till about the end of 1995. And towards the end of 1995 is when John actually stepped into being completely coachable. And it was a quantum shift for him. It's like he actually surrendered that little voice. And that's what's different about being completely coachable. And that's what takes some training, is to actually realize that that little voice is there and just say, thank you for sharing, and put it off to the side. And that's when you get completely over there and you surrender the voice and you're completely trusting.
You can train people to that?
And you can.
They're dealing with their fear. That's where that's coming from, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can train people to that because, like I said, what does it take to get to the Olympic Games? It takes being completely coachable. You said that. All right? And yes, it does take that. And yes, you can train people to that.
As long as they're willing.
Absolutely. In fact, the military does it all the time.
For the unwilling, can they?
For special forces.
They work to weed out.
They weed them out. That's what special forces is all about. Okay, that's what special. And I've actually done. By the way, I've actually done the leadership training that the special forces officers have done with Brigadier General Douglas O'Connor and Colonel Jim Valeni. It's awesome training. It's amazing. I did the complete obstacle course. It's team training. It's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing to do that stuff. And it takes stepping into being completely coachable to do that. It really does. You have to surrender this little voice. And later on, when I finish up with you, you're actually going to get the experience of that. I'm going to give you a little exercise. So you'll get the experience of what it means to actually surrender that little voice. Ready for that? Interested in that? Okay, we're going to have that. Okay, good. So we're going to do that. So at that point, John started to step into being completely coachable. It was really remarkable. So, and it was just like a shift. All of a sudden, things started to really accelerate. John reached senior nationals 3 times, right in a row. And he swam at senior nationals, did great. And in the spring of 1996, he was the last person to qualify for the U.S. Olympic trials by 0.04 of a second. And he made it. And he made it to the Olympic trials. And he was the oldest male qualifier. And when he got to Indianapolis, he received a standing ovation because of his dedication, his grit at really trying. And he did everything possible. And he made it on the last possible day, the last possible chance. And he got in by 0.04 of a second. And he achieved his dream.